The barn was hot, the kind of heat that made skin stick to wood and dust cling like ash. A dog barked once, short and sharp, then went quiet again. The girl stood still, arms hanging at her sides, jaw clenched, eyes empty. Her boots were too big. Her shirt hung off one shoulder where the seam had split. No one looked at her for long. "She's yours now," her father said. His voice cracked on the edge of it. He held a crumpled paper in one hand and a bottle in the other. His boots were muddy, pants wet around the cuffs like he'd pissed himself earlier and didn't care. The rancher didn't respond. He looked at the paper, then the girl, then nothing. "She doesn't talk much," her father said. "Don't cry either, like a damn mule." The clerk shifted in his chair. He looked bored. "Sign the line." The rancher took the pen, signed slow, folded the paper once, tight, slipped it into his coat pocket without looking up. "That's it?" the clerk asked. "That's it," the rancher said. The sheriff leaned on the wall near the back, arms crossed, hat low, watching like a man who'd seen worse and didn't plan to step in. "You want to give her something to carry?" the clerk asked. "Blanket? Satchel?" "She doesn't own anything," her father said. The girl didn't blink. She didn't move. The rancher turned and walked toward the door. The girl followed without being told. Her boots scuffed the packed dirt floor. No one said goodbye. "She'll bite if you let her," her father called out, laughing into his bottle. "She's got her mother's mean mouth. Don't say I didn't warn you." Outside, the light hit hard. The wind blew dust across the road. The rancher walked to his truck. Old, rusted at the corners, a cracked side mirror wrapped in wire. He opened the passenger door. She climbed in. He got in behind the wheel, slammed the door, started the engine. It rumbled and clicked like it didn't want to run. They pulled out slowly. The sheriff stepped off the porch. "She's young," the sheriff said. "I know." "You sure?" "I signed." The sheriff stared at the girl through the window. "She got a say in this." The rancher didn't answer. The truck rolled forward. The barn shrank behind them. The road was rough, potholes deep enough to jar the teeth. Fences on either side ran like cracked bones across the hills. The sky was wide and too quiet. "You got a name you like?" he asked. She didn't respond. He kept one hand on the wheel. "Don't care what he called you. What do you call you?" She looked out the window. He let the silence stretch. "You'll need one for the papers." Still, she said nothing. "Don't matter," he muttered. The house came into view 20 minutes later. A two-story frame leaned slightly west, like it had once argued with the wind and lost. The windows were smeared, roof dipped in the middle, and the chimney cracked. Windmill creaked beside the barn like it remembered something painful. He parked, cut the engine, got out. She followed. The grass was overgrown, brush dry and sharp. A chicken scattered from under the porch. Inside, the floor groaned. The wallpaper peeled. The air smelled like dust and old coffee. He pointed down the hall. "Rooms at the end, got a cot. Blankets underneath." She walked past him. Her boots echoed. He watched her go. Said nothing else. The room was small. One window. One nail in the wall. A cracked lamp on the floor, unplugged. She set her boots beside the cot, stood a long moment looking at the wall, then sat. The springs squeaked. She didn't lie down. He called from the kitchen. "Are you hungry?" No answer. "There's bread, cold meat." She got up. I walked to the kitchen barefoot. The floor was cold. He sat at the table, eating. He pushed a plate toward her. She picked up a slice of bread, ate standing. He watched, said nothing. "Have you ever worked a fence?" he asked. She shook her head. "Horses." Another shake. "You'll learn." She chewed slowly, swallowed without water. "You stay quiet. I'll stay quiet," he said. "That work?" She met his eyes. For the first time. She nodded. He nodded back. Finished his plate. Stood. "Mornings start early. Sleep if you want." He walked out. A door closed somewhere upstairs. She sat alone for a while, then rinsed the plate. Water ran brown for 2 seconds before it cleared. She walked back down the hall, stopped halfway. On the wall was a photograph, nailed crooked. A man, a woman, a baby on her hip. The woman's face looked a little like hers. The nail holding the frame had almost pulled free. She pushed it back in with her thumb. She went to the room, laid on the cot, pulled the blanket over her, closed her eyes. Outside, the windmill moaned. She didn't dream. Not yet. The cot creaked beneath her. Thin blanket. No pillow. The mattress smelled faintly of salt and something older, sweat maybe, or earth, or fear. She lay on her back with her arms crossed over her chest like a body waiting for a lid. Her boots were near the door, toes pointing out. The house didn't settle. It groaned. Boards flexed in the walls like the place had lungs. The wind shoved against the siding like it meant to get in. Down the hall, she heard him. The scrape of steel on stone. A slow, dry rhythm. She sat up, quiet, bare feet on the wood, stepped out of the room and moved toward the kitchen. The lamp above the sink cast long shadows. He was at the table, a knife in one hand, whetstone in the other. His fingers moved steadily, back and forth, metal sliding, sparks of sound. He didn't look up. She stood in the doorway. "You need something?" he asked. She shook her head. He nodded toward the chair. She didn't sit. He kept sharpening. The blade caught the light with each pass. He wasn't in a rush. "Are you cold?" She didn't answer. He stopped, set the knife down flat. I looked at her. "You scared of me?" She shook her head. "You should be." Still, she didn't flinch. He picked the knife back up. "I don't hit girls. Never have. But I ain't soft." She took one step in, then another, stood across the table. Close now. "Did you know her?" she asked. He didn't stop moving the blade. "Who?" "The one in the photo. On the wall." He paused, turned the knife in his hand. "Yeah." "Her name?" "Sarah." "Was she your wife?" "No." She waited. "She was gonna be," he added. Before the fire, she looked at the stove. It wasn't lit. Cold iron, black. "Her baby yours?" "No." "Where is it?" He looked up. "You ask a lot for people who don't speak much." She stared back. "The baby died first," he said. "Then she went." "Fire?" "No." "What then?" He set the knife down. Hard. "Sleep." She didn't move. "Go on." She turned. I walked down the hall. He stayed at the table, picked the knife up again, sharpened slower now, like his hands were thinking. In the room, she lay down again, stared at the ceiling. A crack ran across the plaster like a road with no end. The wind outside hit the house in bursts. The walls trembled. Somewhere an animal called, short, guttural, gone too quick to name. She pulled the blanket to her chin, closed her eyes. I opened them again. She didn't trust the dark. Footsteps past the door. Heavy, not fast. He walked past twice, maybe 3 times. Never looked in. She sat up, rested her elbows on her knees, stared at the door. He opened it. "You all right?" "Why do you care?" "I don't," he said. "I just don't want blood on the floor if you panic in the night." She didn't answer. "You can leave." "I know." He stood there a moment. Then, "I'll be in the chair." She followed him down the hall. The main room was dim. A kerosene lamp glowed in the corner. He sat in a chair by the window. She stood near the fireplace, arms crossed. "You sleep here?" "Sometimes." She sat across from him. Didn't lean back. He stared out the window. "You sharpen knives every night?" "Only when I need to think." "Are you thinking now?" He glanced at her. "Not anymore." The wind howled again, a high, rising note that hit the windows like a scream. She looked toward it. "What's out there?" "Wind." "That's not what it sounded like." He didn't reply. "I saw something in the barn earlier," she said. "What?" "Don't know. A shadow. Moved wrong." "You scared?" "No." "Should be." He leaned forward, rested his elbows on his knees. "Used to be a girl who lived here. Before Sarah. Before me, even." "What happened?" "She disappeared." "How?" "Walked into the field. Never came. Back. She died. They never found her." "You think the land did it?" He looked at her for a long time. "I think the land keeps what doesn't belong." She sat with that. It felt right. "You don't sleep much either," she said. "No." "Nightmares?" "No." "Then why?" "I don't like what comes when I close my eyes." She nodded. She understood. He reached for a bottle near his chair. Whiskey. Took a drink. Didn't offer it. She watched his hands. "They shake," she said. He looked at them. "Flexed once." "Sometimes." "Have you ever hit someone with them?" He met her eyes. "Yes." "Will you hit me?" "No." "Why not?" "'Cause you already look hit." They sat in silence again. The lamp flickered. A moth bounced against the glass. Outside, the wind fell still for a moment. She stood up. I walked to the window. In the field, something moved. A shape. Low to the ground, fast. What's that? He didn't look. Coyote. Too big. He stood now, came behind her, looked out. The shape was gone. Stay away from the well, he said suddenly. She turned. What well? You'll find it. Then he walked back to the chair. She didn't ask again. That night, no one slept. 2 mornings later, the girl woke to the sound of boots on floorboards and a coat pulled from a hook. She sat up on the cot. Cold air poured through the cracked window. The house was silent, except for him. You ready? He asked from the hallway. She didn't ask for what. She pulled her boots on, laced them tight, didn't tie her hair, didn't wash her face, just stood, walked out, and followed him to the truck. The ride was short. The road is the same. Quiet, endless fences, dry ditches, one black bird on a wire that didn't fly. He didn't talk. She didn't either. The town was barely there. One stop sign, a grocery with no glass in the door. The courthouse sat like a stone box at the far end. The sheriff's office tucked beside it. He parked, left the keys in. She got out on her own. Inside, the sheriff looked up from a desk full of paper and old coffee. His badge was crooked. His face was tired. She's here? He asked. She's here, the rancher said. The sheriff looked at the girl. It looked too long. You know what this is? He asked. I ain't stupid, she said. That's not what I asked. She stared at him down. I'm here, ain't I? The clerk shuffled in with a brown folder, thick, worn. Form's ready, he muttered. The girl sat in the wooden chair beside the desk. The rancher didn't sit. He stood behind her like a shadow. You sure? The sheriff asked again. She didn't blink. I'm already his. Might as well be legal. The clerk laid the papers down. Sign here, then here. She signed. Slow. Firm. Her handwriting looked older than she was. The clerk handed the pen to the rancher. He signed faster, didn't hesitate. The sheriff didn't move. Don't need no rings, the rancher said. Fine, the clerk said. You say the words, the girl asked. The sheriff cleared his throat. If you want. We do. The sheriff stood, picked up a small book from his drawer. I opened it. I didn't read it. Do you, James Ezra Coyle, take this girl? Woman, she interrupted. The sheriff paused. This woman, to be your lawfully wedded wife? I do, the rancher said. The sheriff turned to her. Do you, Clara? That ain't my name. He looked up. What do you want it to be? She thought. Call me Eliza. You got a last name? Not one I'll keep. He nodded. Do you, Eliza, take this man to be your husband? I do, she said, low, dry. You can kiss, the clerk said without looking. They didn't. The sheriff stamped the paper. His hand shook. The stamp landed crooked. Why do it this way? He asked. The rancher looked at him. So no one else can. The girl took the paper. I folded it, tucked it into her coat. Is that it? She asked. That's it, the sheriff said. The rancher turned. I walked out. She followed. The clerk stayed behind. She's just a kid. She ain't, the sheriff said. Not anymore. Outside, the sun glared off the truck hood. She climbed in, didn't wait for the door to be held. He started the engine. You picked a name, he said. Didn't want yours. Didn't ask you to. They drove. On the way back, she stared out the window. Why me? She asked. I don't know. You could have picked someone pretty, someone soft. I didn't want to be soft. She looked down at her hands. You think this fixes anything? No. Then why do it? He glanced at her. Because you're already there, in the house, on the land. Might as well have your name on it. I could leave. You could. But I didn't. No. They pulled into the drive. The gate creaked. The windmill spun once, then stopped. She got out before he did. I walked straight to the porch, sat on the step. He stayed by the truck, lit a cigarette, watched the fields. I saw you shake, she said, without looking back. He frowned. When? When you signed. When he stamped doesn't matter. Means you care. Number means I remember. She turned to him. Remember what? What happens after? He dropped the cigarette, stepped on it. I walked to the porch. She moved aside, let him sit. Have you ever been married? She asked. No. Have you ever loved someone? He looked at her. Once. Did she die? Something like it. She nodded. You think I'll die here? No. Why not? 'Cause you won't let it happen. She looked away. Her jaw twitched. Her hand clenched in her lap. You scared? He asked. No. You should be. Already was. Got tired of it. The sky turned gray above the fields. Rain wanted to fall, but didn't. Inside, the house waited like it knew what had just happened. He stood first. Hold the door open. She walked through. Didn't thank him. The paper stayed in her coat. She didn't hang it, didn't frame it, didn't burn it either. That night, she slept in the same cot, but the blanket felt heavier, warmer. He sharpened a different knife. No one said good night. They rode out before the sun finished climbing. She didn't ask where they were going. He didn't say. Just saddled 2 horses, checked the cinches, and tossed her a hat that smelled like oil and cedar. Won't need to speak, he told her. Just follow. She followed. The horses cut through low grass and stiff weeds. Wire fences ran in crooked lines across the fields. Morning frost clung to the earth like it was trying to hold on longer than it should. They rode without talking, passing one gate, then another. The wind picked up, but not enough to matter. After a mile, he stopped. She pulled her horse beside his. Ahead stood a split-rail gate, weather-worn, set between 2 leaning fence posts. The grass beyond was wild, not quite pasture, not quite field. A shallow slope dipped toward a dry creek bed with nothing but rocks, and a broken wagon wheel sunk half into the dirt. He dismounted, loosened his reins. I walked toward the gate. She stayed mounted. It's yours, he said. She stared at the ground. I said it's yours. I heard. You ain't gonna come look. She dismounted slowly. I walked up beside him. The gate had a slab of cedar nailed to it, letters carved into it with a blade. Her name, or the one she chose, Eliza. The wood had darkened with time. You carved that? He nodded. She reached out, touched it. Her fingers came back red. She held them up. Rust? Maybe. She wiped them on her jeans. You don't have to take it, he said. Then why give it? Because someone should. She looked closer. Below her name, just barely visible in the shadows of the grain, was another, carved smaller, crooked. Sarah. She stepped back. You gave it to her too. He didn't answer. This land's cursed, she said. Maybe. You think carving my name on a gate makes it mine? No. Then why do it? He pulled a knife from his belt, the same one he always sharpened, held it in his hand like a truth he was tired of carrying. Because when I gave it to her, she smiled. First time I ever saw her do it. I'm not her. I know. She crossed her arms. You gonna bury me out here too? No. She stepped through the gate. The land rolled soft beneath her boots. Dry but not dead. Sparse wildflowers, one rusted plow, a pile of rotted wood that might have been a shed once. A crow watched from the fence post. She crouched, picked a piece of black ribbon out of the dirt, held it. This hers too, probably. She pocketed it. How big is it? 1.25 acres. No papers? Got 'em at home. Under my name. Now they are. She stood. Why me? He looked at her. Because you're the first one that didn't ask for it. I don't want it. Take it anyway. She stared at the trees on the far edge. A well cap lay tilted near the creek, cracked, sealed with rotting boards. You say she smiled? She asked. He nodded. Before or after she saw the well, he paused. Same day. She walked toward the creek. He didn't stop her. The well sat crooked, the boards nailed down rough. One side had split open. Something metal caught the light inside. She crouched. He stepped closer. Leave it. She looked up. Why? 'Cause it doesn't belong to the living. What's in it? He didn't speak. She stood. The crow flew off. You think naming a piece of ground makes it less haunted? She asked. No. You think it makes me safe? No. She turned. Then what good is it? He took a deep breath. It's yours, that's all. She looked at the gate again. Get me a can of paint. What for? I'm going to paint over her name. He nodded. All right. And after that? What? Don't carve mine again. Don't write it anywhere else. Not unless I ask. Fair. They mounted again, turned back toward the house. The grass whispered behind them. The gate stood open. Halfway back, she asked, What happened to the last woman you gave land to? He didn't answer right away. She bled out in the barn, he said. She gripped the reins tighter. You killed her? No. But you watched it happen. I buried her. That's not the same thing. He didn't argue. She looked at the land one last time before the hill took it from view. I don't need flowers, she said. I know. And I don't smile. I noticed. They rode the rest of the way in silence. The paint would come later, and maybe the erasing, but not yet. The barn door moaned when she pushed it open. It was still early. The light was soft and sideways, just barely cutting through the dust that hung in the air. The horses shifted in their stalls. One kicked once against the wood. She carried a bucket in each hand. Water sloshed with every step. Her arms ached from the work already done that morning, but she didn't show it. She moved slowly, quiet, like something inside the building was sleeping. The floor creaked under her boots. She passed the first stall, then the second, then the hay pile stacked high near the loft ladder. The smell of it was dry and heavy, like time pressed into straw. She bent to set one bucket down. "Eliza," someone whispered. She froze. The word came soft from the hay, not through it, inside it, like it had been waiting. Her breath caught. "Eliza," again, but not the name she chose. The voice said it the way her mother used to, back when it was full and round and slow. She turned, eyes up. Nothing moved. The loft above was shadowed, silent. "You ain't safe here," the voice said. She dropped the bucket. Water splashed over her boots. The horses kicked again. The mare in stall 3 neighed and backed up. Her chest heaved. She scanned the rafters, the ladder, the corners. The voice was gone. "Who's there?" she called, but her voice was hoarse, thin. Nothing answered. She stepped back, fast. Her foot hit the edge of the spilled bucket and slipped. She caught herself on the beam. Splinters bit into her hand. "Eliza," the wind said. Or maybe not the wind. Then silence again. The door opened behind her. The rancher stepped in. His eyes took in the water, the wide eyes, the frozen stance. "You hear something?" he asked. She didn't answer. He stepped forward. "You all right?" She straightened. "I'm fine." "You dropped the bucket?" "No." "Looks like it." "It wasn't me." He crouched. I picked it up, set it upright. The water was almost gone. He looked at her again. "You sure you're all right?" "Don't lie to me," she said. "I'm not." "There's something up there." He looked at the loft. "What?" "I don't know. A woman's voice. Probably the wind." "It wasn't." "You think ghosts live in my barn." "I don't know what I think." "Did she say anything else?" "No." He held her gaze. "Don't go in here alone," he said finally. "Why?" "Because I asked." "That's not a reason." "It's the only one I've got." She walked past him, out into the light. The wind hit her face. It felt too warm. He followed. "You think it was her?" "Sarah?" "Yeah." "I don't know what she sounded like." He didn't respond. They crossed the yard. She opened the gate to the pen and leaned against it. "Have you ever heard voices?" she asked. "No." "Not even once?" "No." "You believe in ghosts?" "I believe in the consequences." She looked at him. "Same thing." He didn't argue. She kicked at the dirt with her heel. "You think this land forgets?" she asked. "No." "Me neither." The wind blew harder. The screen door banged twice against the frame. She turned back toward the barn. The hay pile was still, but she knew the sound. She hadn't imagined it. That voice had said her name, the way only one person ever had. Her mother. And her mother had been dead for 10 years. Or that's what they told her. Back inside, she rinsed the splinters from her palm under cold water. Blood swirled down the drain. Not much, but enough. She looked at the scar on her wrist, the one her father gave her when she was 7. The voice hadn't called her Eliza. It had called her the old name, the name from before the scar. She dried her hand, wrapped a towel around it, sat at the kitchen table. He came in, set a jar down in front of her. "For your hand." She didn't touch it. "Tell me who she was," she said. "I already did." "Number, tell me what she was to you." He sat across from her. Didn't touch the jar either. "She was a secret," he said. "Whose?" "Mine." "You buried her?" "Yes." "Where?" He didn't answer. "You hear what she said?" "I told you no." "She said I ain't safe." He looked away. "You agree?" He didn't nod, but he didn't deny it either. She stood. "Then why keep me here?" He met her eyes. "Because she left. And you stayed." She walked to the sink. "Wash her hand again." "You gave me the same land," she said. "The same promise. Same acre. Same gate." He didn't respond. She turned. "You think I'm gonna break like she did?" "No." "You're wrong." He stood. "I hope I am." She walked to the door, stopped. I looked back once. "If I hear her again," she said, "I'm going to ask what happened." He said nothing. She walked out into the wind. It didn't scream this time. It whispered. The knock came just before sundown. Not loud, just 2 short thumps. Then it was quiet. She looked up from the kitchen. Her hands were still wet from the sink. The kettle hissed low on the back burner. The air in the house had gone still, like something waiting. He stood already by the door, still as a shadow, one hand near his belt. He didn't move, just watched the knob like it might turn itself. "Are you expecting someone?" she asked. "No." Another knock. This one is slower, more patient. She dried her hands. "I'll open it." He didn't say no, but he didn't step aside either. She reached around him, turned the handle, and pulled the door open. The sheriff stood on the porch. His hat was in his hands. His face was older than it looked yesterday. There was a letter folded in half between his fingers, yellowed, creased, soft, like it had been read more than once but never spoken aloud. "Evening," he said. She nodded. "Evening." Behind her, the rancher didn't move. "I got something," the sheriff said. He held the letter out just enough for her to see it. "What is it?" "Something I should have given you a long time ago." She looked at it. She didn't take it. "From who?" "Your mother." She blinked once. That word hadn't been said out loud in years. It rang in the doorway like it didn't belong there. Her hand reached halfway, hovered. The rancher's voice came sharp. "Don't." She stopped, turned halfway toward him. "What?" He stepped beside her, slow but firm. "Put it away, Sheriff. She deserves to read it. That letter's poison." The girl turned to the sheriff. "You read it? Number I swore I wouldn't, but I kept it." "You kept it from me. I didn't know where you were." "She was right here," the rancher said. "Same county. Same damn dirt." The sheriff's grip tightened around the letter. "That doesn't mean it was time." "She's grown," the sheriff added, quieter. "And if she still wants it, she gets it." She reached again. The rancher moved faster. In one motion, he snatched the letter from the sheriff's hand and turned toward the stove. The flame beneath the kettle was still low, but hot. "Don't," she said. He opened the burner door. "Don't do it," the sheriff warned. She moved forward. "That's mine." The letter hit the flame, caught instantly, curled in on itself, black spreading like rot, ink melting into smoke. Within seconds, it was gone. She stared at the empty burner. Silence. "You son of a bitch," she said, barely breathing. The sheriff backed away, stunned. "What the hell is wrong with you?" The rancher shut the stove door. I turned to face them. It was better this way. "You don't get to decide that," she said. "She was mine." "No, she wasn't," she snapped. "She chose me." "She died." The words hung heavy. The kettle started to hiss again. The sheriff spoke low. "You gave her land." The rancher didn't blink. "It was always hers. Don't lie to her like you did to her mama." The rancher's voice dropped. "I gave her what nobody else would: safety, name, place, after you took everything else." "She was never yours to silence," the girl said. He looked at her like she was something distant. "She asked me to protect you." "By hiding the truth?" "I was trying to keep you whole." She stepped toward him. "That letter might have been the only whole thing I had." He didn't flinch. She turned to the sheriff. "Why now?" "'Cause I saw the gate." "What gate?" "The one with your name on it. That's when I knew who you were." "You waited years." "I was wrong." "You both were." She grabbed her coat and walked out the door. The wind hit her hard, dry and sharp. She didn't stop, didn't look back. The sky had gone pink at the edges. Crows passed overhead. She crossed the field in a straight line. Her boots sank into soft spots where the rain used to fall. At the acre, she stopped at the gate. Her name was still carved there, deep, clear. Beneath it, if you looked close enough, the ghost of another name still lingered. Sarah. She placed her palm over both. "Did she write about you?" she whispered. "Did she beg me to run?" The wood didn't answer, but something in the silence pulled at her chest. She sat down in the dirt, let the cold seep through her jeans. I never even knew her handwriting. The air stayed quiet. She looked toward the well, barely visible through the tall grass. A few boards nailed over it still. One of them had split down the center. She stood. I walked to it. Kneeling, she placed her hand on the boards. closed her eyes. "Tell me what she said," she whispered. "Tell me what he burned." No voice answered, only the wind. Behind her, she heard the soft crunch of boots in the grass. She turned. The sheriff stood a dozen paces away, hands empty, hat low. "I didn't know what was in it," he said. "But it had your name on it. Real name." She stared at him. "He said she was sick," he added. "Said she wasn't right. They always say that when women talk too much." He nodded once. "You still want the truth?" She said nothing. "Then dig. It's not in letters anymore. Not on fire either." She looked down at her hands. "What was her name?" He said it. Quiet. The name didn't feel like hers, but the sound still curled in her ribs. She nodded. "I'll leave you be," he said. He turned, walked back across the field. The crows circled once, then broke apart. She stayed by the well, sat down beside it, touched the boards again. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. But she did not forget. The pantry door had always stuck. She'd yanked it open a dozen times, usually with a hard pull, and her shoulder braced into the frame. But today, it opened easily. No fight, no groan, just silence. She stepped inside with the oil lamp lit low. The walls were lined with empty shelves, save for 2 jars of pickled something that had long since turned gray. The air was cold, still smelled faintly of dust, dry wheat, and mice. But something was off. She crouched, ran her fingers along the floorboards. Nothing loose, nothing fresh. Then she stood and ran her hand along the far wall. The wood there looked different, paler, newer. A single nail stuck out near the edge, rusted nearly black. She pressed her ear against the board. Nothing. Then she knocked. Hollow. She set the lamp down, reached for the hammer off the kitchen hook, came back, wedged the claw under the first board. It cracked upward with a pop. The second came slower. By the fourth board, the smell hit her. Cedar, old fabric, something burnt. She pulled the last board back. The light from the lamp caught the shape behind it. A dress pinned to the wall, faded green. The hem was torn, lace sleeves wilted, nailed at the shoulders. No hanger, just flesh to wood. She stepped back. It didn't move, but it didn't feel good. She took a breath, stepped forward again, reached out. The fabric was stiff, brittle, but somehow still soft in the center. She leaned in, brought the dress to her face, inhaled cedar and smoke. She stepped back again, eyes wide. I stared at it for a long time. Then she heard the floorboard creak behind her. She turned. He stood in the kitchen doorway, one hand on the frame, quiet. "You knew," she said. He didn't move. "You put it here." Still no answer. "She lived here too." He looked at the dress. His jaw clenched. "She died here," he said. "Before or after you gave her land?" He didn't answer. She stepped forward. "Say it." He looked at her. "After." She nodded once, slow. "You didn't bury her far, did you?" She asked to stay close. "In the acre." He didn't blink. She looked back at the dress. "Why the pantry?" "She liked to bake," he said. "That's not a reason." "She made the best bread I ever tasted." "That still ain't a reason." "No." "She died in this dress?" "No." "Then why keep it?" He didn't speak. You ever try to forget something so hard you had to hang it on the wall just to remember it right? She let that sit. "Who nailed it up?" "I did," he said. She stared at him. "Why?" "So I won't forget what I did," he said, "or what I didn't do." She walked past him, into the kitchen, set the hammer down. "You leave it there long enough," she said. "It starts to feel like part of the house." He watched her. "Ain't that the truth?" She poured a glass of water, drank it in 3 long gulps. "You killed her?" she asked. "No." "But you let her die." His mouth tightened. "She didn't ask for help." "She shouldn't have had to." He looked at the pantry. She was tired. She'd been tired for a long time. "Is she pregnant?" He didn't answer. "You buried a child too." He nodded. "Same acre." He didn't speak. She stepped close. "You think naming land after women erases what you did to them?" "No." "Then why do it?" He looked at her like he was seeing her for the first time. "Because I want it to be true," he said, "even if it ain't." She turned, walked back into the pantry, and looked at the dress again. "Does she ever smile?" "Once," he said. "When?" "When I gave her the gate." She stared at the nail driven through the shoulder seam. "She deserves better." I know. I do too. I know that too. She touched the fabric again. Her fingers trembled. Want me to take it down? He asked. No. Why not? Because it doesn't belong to you anymore. He nodded. She reached up, took the hammer again, pulled the top nail free, then the next. He didn't stop her. She folded the dress slowly, careful, like something sacred, laid it on the table, sat down across from it. I'll bury it, she said. Where? Next to her. He looked at her. His voice caught. You sure? I'm not. But you're gonna do it anyway. Yes. He nodded. The oil lamp flickered behind her. The pantry stood open. Empty now. Tell me her name, she said. Sarah Ann, he said. Sarah Ann Fletcher. She wrote it down on the back of an old grocery slip. What were the babies? He closed his eyes. Didn't have one yet. She held the paper. I folded it once, slid it into her pocket. You can help me dig, she said. I will. She stood, picked up the dress. This time, she said, we won't use the acre. No. Number it's already full. She walked out the door, the dress folded tight in her arms. The wind picked up behind her, but she didn't flinch. The house groaned once more. Something in it is lighter now. Something left behind. It started with a smell. Not the sharp heat of the stove or the must of smoke from the chimney. It was deeper, older, wood turning black from inside out. The kind of burn that doesn't crackle but hisses. She stood in the hallway, barefoot, holding the folded dress she'd meant to bury. Morning hadn't fully come. The windows still held night in their corners. The floor felt warm beneath her toes. Too warm. She looked down. Then the smoke came, thin at first, curling up through the boards like steam rising from split skin. It whispered up the walls, touched the ceiling, turned corners. She moved fast. The pantry was already full of it. The hole in the wall gaped wide, where the dress once hung. She backed away, coughing once. By the time she reached the kitchen, she knew. The floorboards were hot. The seams near the stove had split. Flames licked from beneath. Quiet, sure. She didn't yell, didn't run. She grabbed the tin box of papers off the shelf, tucked it under her arm, and went for the front door. It was already open. He stood in the yard, arms folded, staring at the house. She stepped out, smoke rising behind her like a shadow. You knew, she said. He didn't move. You were out here before it started. I smelled it first. You didn't wake me. You found it. She walked to him, dropped the tin box in the dirt. The metal clanged. It's gone, he said. You burned it. No. Don't lie. It was already burning. She looked back. Flames moved fast now, crawling up the siding like fingers. The porch cracked. A window blew out. The wind carried sparks toward the barn. She turned to him. You said it. I didn't. You lit something. You walked out. You waited. He looked at her. You really think I'd burn the last place she touched? She wasn't the last one who touched it. He looked away. The fire reached the pantry wall. It didn't scream, just sighed and gave in. You gonna try to stop it? She asked. No. You gonna rebuild? Not that house. She crossed her arms. You always let things burn when they get too heavy. Only when they're already ruined. Nothing's ever ruined till you leave it behind. He didn't answer. The flames spread to the roof. The shingles fell in strips. The walls leaned, then shuddered. She bent down, opened the tin box, pulled out the paper with Sarah's name on it, folded tight, still clean. You said she was tired. She was. You said she asked to be buried close. She did. Do you ever think she was waiting for it to burn? He looked at her. Maybe. Does she leave matches behind? No. But she left the kindling. He nodded. The barn doors creaked in the heat. One horse kicked. She turned, ran for the gate. I'll get them, she said. He followed. They opened the stalls, let the horses bolt into the pasture. Steam rose from their flanks. Their hooves pounded the earth. By the time they turned back, the house had folded. Not all at once, just the middle first, like it bowed down before dying. She stood in the field, smoke in her hair, barefoot. You should have told me, she said. I told you everything I remembered. Not the same. No. You think this is over? Not yet. Good. They stood there together. The sun rose slowly behind the smoke. She didn't cry. He didn't speak. Then she walked away, away from the ashes, away from the ruins. The dress she'd meant to bury was still in her hands, streaked now with soot. She didn't look back. He stayed by the gate. She walked to the fence line. I climbed it barefoot. The ground beyond was cooler, softer. She kept walking, and the fire behind her kept burning. The grass thinned the farther she walked. Dry stalks brushed her legs, brittle from drought and neglect. Smoke still clung to her clothes, soaked into her hair, lined the backs of her teeth. Behind her, the house had collapsed some time before dawn. The horses wandered loose. The gate that held her name, 2 names, stood open. She carried nothing, not even the folded dress now buried beneath the lone cedar tree, not the tin of papers, not the jar of buttons, nothing of his, not any more. At the edge of the land, past where the fields gave way to trees bent sideways by years of wind, the well waited. Set into a small clearing, the earth around it cracked from heat and age, weeds like wire snaking around its stones. She'd seen it before, had passed it a dozen times and kept walking. But today, she stopped. Today, something in her bones whispered, "Go back." The well cap was wooden, nailed down long ago with thick iron spikes. 3 of the boards had split down the middle. 1 had fallen off completely. The others hung loose, as if the well itself was tired of being sealed. She crouched low, ran her fingers along the rim. Dust, rust, dry rot, and something else, like pine, or cedar, or memory. She stood, placed both hands on the boards, and pulled. They groaned. 1 cracked. The sound echoed like a breath caught in a throat. She stepped back. I looked down. A hole. A mouth. Blacker than any sky. It looked empty, but it didn't feel empty. "Hello?" she called. No echo, no splash, just air. Still, unmoving air. Then, "Eliza." She froze. The voice didn't echo. It didn't come back to her. It rose up. Quiet. Familiar. Like a name hummed from under a bed when you're half asleep and too scared to open your eyes. She swallowed. "That's not my name." "Yes, it is." She backed up a step. Her bare feet bit into dry grass. "You don't get to call me that." "You gave it up." "I had to." "No," the voice said. "You let him take it." She turned in a slow circle, scanning the trees. "Mama." Silence. "Mama, is that you?" "Yes." Her breath caught. "You're dead." "Yes." "They told me you ran off, that you were sick. I stayed." "That's not what they said." "They lied." She took a half step toward the well. "They said you fell, broke your head, died in the barn." "No." She shook her head. "Then where were you?" "Right here." She looked down again. Her reflection wasn't there, just black, still. "I buried your dress." "I know." "You didn't come back." "You didn't call." She sat down on the edge, elbows on her knees. "I thought you hated me." "Never." "Then why didn't you run with me?" "You were faster." "A beat." Then she whispered, "Why did you stay?" "I had hope." "It wasn't enough." "No." She pulled the ring from her finger. Brass. Dull. A line of dirt still ran beneath it. "You wore one too, didn't you?" "Yes." "You stay because of him?" "Because of what he promised." "What did he promise?" "That I'd be the last." A pause. "Were you?" "No." The ring felt hot in her hand now. Heavy. "He gave me land," she said. "I know." "He carved my name into a gate." "So did he for me." She stood, held the ring over the well. "Say it again," she said. "Don't carry his name." She dropped it. No sound, not even a faint clang. She stepped back. I looked at the trees. I looked to the sky. She sat again. "Did he kill you?" "No." "Then what?" "He didn't listen." "That's all?" "Yes." "You could have screamed." "I did." "No one heard." "No one wanted to." She pressed her palms into her thighs. "Did you write to me?" "Yes." "He burned it." "I know." "What did it say?" "That you were never the problem." Tears filled her eyes. She didn't blink. "You said I was too much, too loud, too angry." "I said none of that." "He did." "He always does." She stood again, picked up a flat rock nearby, carried it to the well, laid it gently across the opening. It didn't cover it all, but it was something. She whispered, "Do you forgive me?" "For what?" "For leaving you." "You saved us both." "No, I didn't." "You lived." That's not the same. It's enough. The wind moved, soft. A single leaf spun in a circle beside the well, then stopped. She turned back to the field. The barn was just a speck now. The house no longer stood. The acre, the gate, the ring, burnt, buried, or gone. She didn't look back. She didn't speak again. She just walked. Each step into the grass felt lighter. Each breath filled more. By the time she reached the edge of the fence line, she wasn't crying. By the time the crows rose from the tree, she wasn't trembling. She passed the post where her father once stood with paper in his hand. She didn't stop. She crossed the road, barefoot, into a space that hadn't been touched by fire or family or false names. And behind her, the well sat quiet, sealed but not silent. The smoke had blown west. Weeks passed, maybe more. The fields turned dry again. The barn leaned harder than it had before, but it held. The fire had taken the house, the porch, the pantry, the false foundation they all walked on. But the land stayed, and she stayed with it. No one came looking. No men in uniforms, no neighbors, no family. The town knew what happened. It just didn't ask. Rural silence worked like that, secrets buried under dirt and time and the assumption that women like her didn't need checking on unless something bled. The sheriff retired quietly. No announcement, no farewell. One day he just didn't come to the office, left the badge on the desk and a folder locked inside the drawer. Inside that folder was her name, the real one. Not Eliza, not the name carved on the paper her father sold her with. The one she was born with. The one her mother whispered when she kissed her cheek good night the last time. The new sheriff was a woman, first one the county had ever seen. Mid-40s, broad shoulders, wide hands, hair that didn't move in the wind. She wore jeans like armor and boots with no shine. She came to the ranch one morning after sunrise, didn't knock, just waited by the gate. The girl walked out barefoot. "You her?" the sheriff asked. "I might be." "You got the acre with 2 names on it?" "Not anymore." The sheriff looked past her, to the gate. The carving was fresh, clean, one name now, the real one. Letters cut hard into the wood, like a promise that didn't need permission. "You did that yourself?" the sheriff asked. "Didn't trust anyone else. Smart." They didn't say much after that, but the new sheriff came back. Not with papers, with seeds, with targets, with rifles, with books about soil and maps of constellations, with questions no man had bothered to ask her before, like, "How do you want to live now?" The answer wasn't quick, but it came. She took the acre and fenced it proper, built a shed, then a root cellar, then a room with a roof that didn't leak. She didn't rebuild. The house the same. She didn't keep the porch or the wallpaper or the pantry with ghosts nailed into the wood. She didn't use his plans, didn't use his nails. She laid the boards herself, hammered slow. At night, the barn stayed warm. The horses knew her now. The soil remembered her boots. Girls came in the afternoons. Some walked from town. Some were dropped off by quiet mothers who didn't say much but squeezed her hand before they turned back down the drive. The girls came wearing fear in their eyes and names stitched into their sleeves that didn't belong to them. She taught them how to shoot first, not for killing, for saying no louder than a voice ever could, then how to grow. Tomatoes, beans, corn in good soil, wildflowers in hard dirt. "How do you know if the land wants you?" one asked once. "You stay," she answered. She taught them to aim, to dig, to read wind, to hide letters and burn names and walk away when the house starts to burn. She never talked about the well, never mentioned the voice, but every so often, when the sun was low and the wind dropped flat, she'd walk to the edge of the acre and press her hand to the gate. Not for him, not for her mother, not for the ghost that clung to the pantry wall. For her. She hadn't taken the rancher's name, hadn't kept her father's either, hadn't stitched any man's title into the new deed. When the county clerk asked what to write, she said, "Mine." Just that. And he nodded. Quiet, careful. Now when the sheriff came by, they didn't say much, just passed a jar of tea between them and watched the girls learn how to say, "I will not stay silent." Sometimes the girls asked what happened to the man who gave her the land. She didn't lie. "He gave me something," she said. "But it wasn't free." "What did it cost?" "Almost everything." "But not all." "No," she'd say. "Not all." The sun came back that season. Rain, too. Enough to turn the grass soft again. Enough to make the fields grow something worth keeping. At the gate, her name stood alone, the only word carved there now. No initials, no dates, no scars, just the truth. And that was enough. That